Okay, let's get this party started. Hello guys and gals, it's the BookTube Club in April. I'm Jenny and we have finally come full circle. Holla! Let's discuss what we read in the month of April, shall we? Shall we? Okay. First book that I read in the month of April is Me, Earl, and a Dying Girl by Jessie Andrews. And this book is contemporary. It's about a guy named Greg, and then there's Earl, his friend, and then there's Rachel, the dying girl. And Greg is a high school senior who tries hard to be invisible. He has a best friend named Earl who comes from a very troubling family, and they make really weird films. And then there's Rachel, whom he ditched in elementary school, but his mom is forcing him to hang out with her because she suffers from leukemia. The book is written in a very interesting way. I think the best thing about it is the narrative. It's written very casually. There are a lot of lists in this book, which like really strange lists, which kind of make this book kind of exceptional. And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun to read. And if you're in the contemporary mood, definitely go check it out. I feel like I just sound like an infomercial salesman who's trying to sell you a car right there. But no, I don't specialize in cars. I don't even have a license. The second book, guys, is Ready Player One by Ernest, Cline. And oh my god, why have I not read this sooner? It just speaks to my nerdy soul in all its facets. Set in the near future, there's this online virtual reality game with full immersion and all the people use it. And the guy who built this dies and he left a will, which says that the first person to solve the puzzle that he built into this game receives his whole entire company and his whole entire fortune. This book, if you like video games, it has so many great references to old video games and pop culture, and I loved it. I don't know how to say it. I loved it. I know a lot of other people have loved it. I don't know why it took me so long to read it. Guys, go read it. If you haven't read it, go read it. If you love video games, you'll love this. Next up is a book that I've been eyeing since February now, and it's Queen of Hearts by Colleen, and I finally read it. I finally got it and read it. And it's a retelling of Alice in Wonderland. It's about a girl named Dinah. She's a Princess of Hearts, and her father hates her, the King of Hearts, and one day she's told she has a half-sister and she gets weird messages. Pacing was fine, but the things that happen in this book didn't really drive the plot forward, so by the time the book ends, it feels like, even for a first book in a series, it feels incomplete. It feels like someone took the book and just cut it in half. I think the world and the characters have a lot of potential. It's just that, you know, the storytelling needs to be more concise. But if you like Alice in Wonderland and those kind of things, it's a really nice way of retelling. So there's that. And then I read Dreams of Gods and Monsters by Laini Taylor, the last book in the Daughter of Smoke and Bone series. And this is like the most anticipated book of this month for me. I loved it. Actually, not as much as Days of Blood and Starlight, but it was good. It was really great. And if you don't know what Daughter of Smoke and Bones is about, it's about a girl who lives with monsters and one day she gets attacked by angels, and it sounds really weird. I don't think I've enjoyed a YA series like this in a long time. That says a lot. I'm pretty critical when it comes to YA. Some things that I have to mention right now. I did not really like Eliza. I see her point in the story, but I don't really like her, and the ending, it is confusing. Don't get me wrong, the ending is good. It's a good, nice ending to the series, but it just opens a Pandora's box of new questions. And Laini Taylor, if you're seeing this, if you're watching this, please write another book or another series regarding the revelations of the last book, please. Please, please, can you do that for me? Please. And then to get off the YA train, I decided to reduce my TBR pile a little bit, and I decided to read Cat's Cradle by Vonnegut. Can we just take a second to appreciate this cover? Okay, second passed. Now this book is just strange. I don't even know where to start. It's about a guy who is a writer and he wants to write a book on the father of the atomic bomb in this book, who's called Felix Honecker. And he realizes, while interviewing people, that the atomic bomb is not the only thing he created. He also created a substance called ice-9, which, in contact with water, basically just destroys the whole entire world. This is a post-war story. It has the typical dry, ironic humor that a lot of novels have that are written during that time. I actually really enjoy this. I don't think it's everybody's cup of tea. It takes a bit of time getting used to, but it's just really strange and trippy. That's the only adjectives that I can use on this book. And then, very exciting, I finally read The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss, and this is fantasy in all its glory, and I just loved it. Yeah. It's about a guy named Quoth. I don't know how to pronounce his name. He is a hero, a famous hero set in the book, but it turns out at the beginning of the book he's just an innkeeper, and one day a chronicler comes along and he wants to hear a story, and Quoth agrees to tell it to him, but only over the span of 3 days or 3 nights. And this book series, the Kingkiller Chronicles, is a trilogy, and each book encompasses his storytelling of 1 day. And so Quoth basically just tells his life story from the very beginning until how he got to where he is now, an innkeeper in a little town in the middle of nowhere. This book is funny and it's witty and it's poetic, like Patrick Rothfuss's writing. You don't get that in a lot of fantasy. Usually fantasy is very intricate, very complex, or very action-packed, but this one is like the way he writes is just so nice. And while reading this, something was bothering me in the back of my head, not because the book was terribly flawed or anything, but just because something was different in comparison to other fantasy novels. And it took me a long time, and like 2 days after I finished it, one day I woke up and I was just, oh my god, this is it. And I was pulling comparisons to Harry Potter, and I realized that 2 major things are missing that a lot of fantasy books have. Firstly, there's no imminent evil character. Yes, there are evil characters in it. Yes, there is an enemy, but the enemy isn't aware of the protagonist, and the enemy isn't trying to like conquer, or like the enemy existed for a long time, and even though it's a vital point in the story, it's not the main point of the story, you know? And the second thing is that the protagonist, he's not the chosen one, like in a lot of books. He does not have a destiny. He is not set to be a hero, but you see through the things that happen in his life, how he takes on the hero role, or, as also indicated, how he becomes an anti-hero. After finishing The Name of the Wind, I wanted something light and fluffy to lighten up my mood a little bit in between, and I went on Goodreads and I realized that Gabrielle Zevin published a new book at the beginning of the month, or at the end of last month, and I haven't seen this book anywhere on BookTube, which kind of surprised me. It's adult contemporary. It's called The Storied Life of A.J. Fikry, and I went in this book not really expecting anything, but oh my god, guys, it is so good. It's about a guy named A.J. Fikry, and he is a bookstore owner. He just lost his wife. He's really mean and he's really depressed, and he loses his very valuable edition of an Edgar Allan Poe. And one day this baby just gets dumped into his bookstore and he has to start taking care of it. And reading the first 10 pages, I thought, you know, this will be a nice story. I'll probably have to drag myself through it. But then reading the first 20 pages, I was just like, oh my god, guys, what did I just pick up? This is so good. It is so relatable. If you ever had a book discussion with any of your friends who like reading, you'll find yourself in it. You'll find your snobby self in it, you'll find your gushy self in it, you'll just find your bookish self in it. It's just... And it's not in the least like Fangirl at all, but it is like Fangirl in regards to its relatableness to the reader. And I just love when books manage to do that. I just love it. Love it, love it, love it. And the last book I read this month is The Winter's Curse by Marie Rutkoski. Oh my god, I finally got her name right after like the 5th time. And this book is very much TBR hyped, which usually makes me even more skeptical than when it is review hyped. And I really enjoyed it. Like, it is some good YA. It's YA fantasy without the magical elements in it. And you'll know why I was skeptical as soon as I tell you the premise of this book. It's about a girl named Kestrel. She's the daughter of the highest ranking general in the Valorian Empire, and the Valorian Empire took over the Hinari Peninsula a decade ago, and all the Hinari people turned into slaves. And she buys a slave, and then they fall in love. And at this point, my alarm was ringing, and I was like, oh my god, this is gonna be a weird, sappy YA romance into love story. But no, it wasn't. I'm not saying the romance is perfect. I'm just saying it is very nicely executed. Their emotions grow gradually, and there's more to the characters. Like, the characters, they have their priorities straight, you know? They still do what they have to do. The characters are just so confusing in a good way, because by the end I have no idea where their alliances are, and then the ending, oh my god, the ending. I haven't wanted to read a sequel ASAP in a long time, and this says a lot. Yeah, that was what I read in April. And it was a really nice reading month, and tell me what you've read in the comments below. Tell me if you've read any of these books, what you thought about them. And that was it, and see you next time. Bye bye.